If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance. How much you really want to do it, and you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds. If you're going to try, go all the way. Life was always giving you a test, trying to give you a way out, trying to give you an excuse not to show up. This is my excuse today. But guess what? You gotta have the mentality to show up every day of your life, no matter what life throws at you. I don't care what you're going through, what life's throwing at you. It's your responsibility to find your new 100%. People always say, you gotta love the work. You gotta love what you do. You don't have to love what you do. You gotta be addicted to what you do. You gotta be addicted to winning. You cannot work short hours, you gotta work long hours, you gotta work smarter, and you gotta work F***, harder. It's the work that you put in, the time and effort, the dedication, the hours that nobody else saw, the sacrifices. You have to be disciplined, you have to be obsessive, you have to be addicted to the result. The bigger your dream is, the harder the grind. You might have small beginnings. You might not have a lot of money, you might not have a lot of resources, but there's no excuse. And I need you to understand that the bigger your dream is, the early you're going to have to get up. The longer you're going to have to stay up, the more effort you're going to have to put in. None of us ever get through this life without heartache, without turmoil. You've got to focus on you. And as you convince you, as you sell yourself, every day, you will begin to see a difference in the things that you're doing. Telling yourself every day, here I go again, and I got what it takes. This is my day and nothing out here is going to stop me. It was remind you that you were born to do something great with your life, to tap into something in you. That's been there all the time and you tap into it sometimes. But that somehow you decide today, I'm gonna walk a little different. I'm gonna talk a little different. I'm gonna feel it. I'm gonna live my life. I'm not gonna wait around. I'm not gonna have these depth perception issues. I'm going to begin to give myself the gift of happiness so that I can transfer it to other people. I'm gonna outwork everybody. I'm gonna do one more meeting, one more contact, one more time I tell my daughter I love her. Fight your way through this battle. You have what it takes. Your greatness comes from within, and once you realize that, nothing will stop you. Nothing will keep you from being great. It's already there. You just have to feel it and know that you were placed here for a reason. It can be painful, it will be uncomfortable, and that's where the growth is. When you're stretching out, when you're taking life by the collar, you're going to get thrown to the ground again and again and again. But when you have determination and you know that what you're doing is right, it gives you your life. It gives a special meaning and power to you. You'll begin to discover some things about you that you don't know you've got when you put yourself in that type of challenging situation. Okay, so let's say you pick a level of competition where you're always winning. It's like, well, all that means is you've picked the wrong level of competition. Yes, because like let's say you're a grandmaster chess player and all you do is play amateurs. And every night you go home and congratulate yourself on what a genius you are because you just stomp these people left, right, and center. It's like you're not a genius, you're dimwit, right? What you should be doing is playing people who are beating you, as much as you can tolerate. So maybe that's 40% of the time, maybe it's 60% of the time. But that way, because to be a winner, you want to be disciplined. You want to know what you're doing, and then you want to be on the edge, where your skills are being developed. And if you're going to be on the edge where your skills are going to be developed, you're at a place where where losing is always a possibility. Because otherwise you're not pushing yourself beyond your current capacity. And so one of the things that I've outlined in 12 Rules for Life is a theory of meaning. Because meaning, as far as I'm concerned, that sense of meaningful engagement is the antidote to malevolence and suffering, essentially. Because you want to have a life that's so engaging that you think, despite the fact that I'm limited, and that we're mortal, and that life is tragedy, and there's evil in the world, despite all that, this is worth doing. And I think that there's a technical meaning that genuinely exists, and that's the meaning that you get when you're in a domain where you have some discipline and some skill. So you're laying out your competence and your ability, but you're simultaneously pushing yourself to develop a past where you are. That's really engrossing. What that is doing is expanding your competence. And so life is suffering and betrayal in many senses of the world, but you can adopt a way of traversing through life that it is more powerful than the tragedy and the malevolence. It is hard to have the success you want. It's hard to have a jet and freedom and extra houses. And it takes hard work and it takes time and there's no shortcut. I don't care what anybody thinks. There's no shortcut. Maybe you could have bought Dogecoin and you got lucky. That is the rarest thing in the history of the world. Ed and I would bet we agree. I don't even know. Neither one of us probably invested in crypto, and all of our friends said to, because we didn't know it. We didn't feel it and we missed it. So I'm so blessed if you did for you, but that's not where true wealth is made. You have to work 50% harder than you think you do. You have to get kicked in the teeth more than you think. You have to get questioned by your friends and family and look like the dreamer twice as much as you think. The people you thought were going to support you aren't. Some people are going to talk behind your back. Some friends are going to leave you. And guess what? It's worth every freaking penny it's worth, every moment, every disappointment. There was a gentleman named David Kekich. I met him. He was paralyzed from the neck down. And not always paralyzed. I think it was a jogging car accident, and he had these Kekich credos. It was like a business card that folded out. And one of his Kekich credos, to make him most positive guy he ever met, couldn't move anything below his neck was one of them. Was living the hard way is easy, and living the easy way is hard. So before I answer this about multiple streams of income, I think it's really important. I tell you this, living the hard way makes it easy. Knowledge has to be improved, challenged, and increased constantly, or it vanishes. Just like knowledge, you can't take self-discipline for granted. Unfortunately, being a self-disciplined person isn't a one-and-done kind of thing. Once you have learned how to live that way, you can still lose it if you don't consistently strengthen it by setting new challenges and rejecting instant gratification in favor of bigger future rewards. Never assume that you're disciplined enough. There's always a new area in which you can improve your self-control and further expand your comfort zone. For example, regular exercise poses no challenge for my self-discipline. In order to strengthen it, I need to set bigger and bigger exercise-related challenges for myself. In order to strengthen it, I need to set bigger and bigger exercise-related challenges for myself. Instead of focusing on fitness, I can also find a new area in which my discipline is lacking. Instead of focusing on fitness, I can also find a new area in which my discipline is lacking, such as developing more patience when dealing with other people, and focus on improving it until it's no longer a test for my resolve. Such consistent practice ensures that you're at least maintaining your level of self-control, and ideally always getting better at it. Hold yourself responsible for a higher standard than anybody else expects of you. Never excuse yourself. Never pity yourself. Be a hard master to yourself, and be lenient to everybody else. The only standards that should concern you are your own standards. If you act in accordance with the standards of the majority of people, you'll be overweight, unfit, unhealthy, lazy, hating your job, not having enough time for your family, and in debt. I sometimes get flack for my goals. You're already slim. Why do you still watch your diet? Why do you save so much money? You should live it up. Can't you live like a normal person instead of waking up at 5 a.m. and going to sleep as early as 8 p.m.? By the standards of the person criticizing me, I should have stopped improving myself a long time ago. According to my standards, the growth should never end. I always hold myself responsible for a higher standard, and this allows me to maintain success-friendly habits in my life and achieve even more success. If you allow yourself to have low standards, how are you supposed to ever achieve excellence? Exhibiting self-control is one of the most powerful demonstrations of having high standards. Letting fleeting emotions and urges control your life, as most people do, is a surefire path to mediocrity. The important thing in the Olympic Games is not to win, but to take part. The important thing in life is not triumph, but the struggle. The essential thing is not to have conquered, but to have fought well. Nobody will ever give you any grades for your level of self-discipline. There's no finish line, and there's no podium for the winners. The only purpose of building self-discipline is to conquer yourself. Your own urges, your own weaknesses, and your own self-sabotaging behaviors. It's easy to forget this fact and assume that when you reach your goals, you're done. In fact, the moment you make your dreams come true isn't the most important moment. It's important, no doubt, but without the process leading to it, in itself, it means little. The most important moments are the moments of struggle, when you're striving to fight even when you can barely stand and the whole world is spinning around you. It's this very act that proves your mettle and showers you with life-encompassing benefits, not the act of winning in itself. Whenever you find yourself frustrated that you're still a long way from the finish line, remember that it's right now, at this very moment, that you're collecting the biggest rewards. It's the struggle in itself that improves you and makes you a more successful person. To be normal is the ideal aim for the unsuccessful, for all those who are still below the general level of adaptation. But for people of more than average ability, people who never found it difficult to gain successes and to accomplish their share of the world's work, for them, the moral compulsion to be nothing but normal signifies the bed of procrusts, deadly and insupportable boredom, a hell of sterility and hopelessness. There's nothing normal in building self-discipline. Most people avoid all kinds of discomfort and effort. They don't want to experience personal growth because it interferes with them stuffing themselves with French fries, wasting countless hours in front of TV, spending money they don't have on things they don't need, lollygagging at work and cutting corners whenever they can. If you want to join the minority of people who do possess self-control and strive to strengthen it even further, you'll be considered weird. This means that you need to prepare yourself for potential ridicule, being frowned upon, and not being understood. It might be hard at first to face so much adversity when all you want to do is to improve yourself. To overcome this situation, get the following fact at the forefront of your mind. Normal is the ideal for the mediocre, exceptional, or, in the words of the unsuccessful, weird, is the ideal for the high achievers and trailblazers. Every time you feel out of sync with the rest of the world, remember that there are other people like you. During the challenging times when you're stumbling, remind yourself that even when you're failing, you're still forging your own path, something that the vast majority of people will never do. You can enjoy the fruits of your success in a way that they will never experience. And that's why it's worth it to be exceptional. Be exceptional. Patience and self-discipline are close cousins. If you want to reject instant gratification for the sake of accomplishing your long-term goals, it might take months or years before you receive your big compensation. Without patience, you'll get nowhere. While sometimes you can force results to come more quickly by pushing yourself harder and being as diligent as you can during the process, oftentimes things take time, and there's no way to rush them, no matter how many resources you apply. Like pregnancy, some things follow a natural schedule you can't control. If you fail to identify which things cannot be rushed, you might misapply the power of self-discipline, and instead of achieving them more quickly, fail to achieve them at all. Even with things that are difficult to measure, such as learning to control your mind so that you can eventually radiate optimism, you can't force yourself to change overnight. Rewiring your brain takes time, and it doesn't matter how much time you spend meditating or reading books about emotional control. A process that is so profound takes time.